and the coagulation. Now I'm going to take a look at that in lateral, see how far front I am. So that looks really good. Not too far in the front. I have a room to pull this needle out slightly and see if I can advance this even further. So I always want to check both AP and lateral direction. Now you can see that the tip of the needle is reaching this line here. If you draw the imaginary line joining all these pedicles, the tip of the wand actually, and I cannot advance it any further. That basically tells me that I'm touching the annulus. We are basically going through the entire portion of the disc from left side to the right side and going across through the nucleus. Now, one thing I want to make sure that I am not too far in or too far out. So I want to check the position of the needle again and make sure that I'm right at the junction. It looks like I'm right at the junction. I still have room to pull this out slightly. Okay, so we made the final adjustment. We know we are in pretty good shape. We'll do one more final check in lateral and make sure that we are not out of the annulus. You want to make sure that you're in the disc. The needle tip is just entering the disc space, just annulus. So looks like very satisfactory needle position. We'll proceed with the insertion of the wand. Now this is the depth that I reach, and I cannot go any further. You can see this depth stopper. This basically tells you the stop, don't go any further. Now if I try to push any more, I cannot. One thing I want to point out is that the wand, the needle, is in the center of the disc. In that way, you have a safety zone between the end plate and the disc space. So if there is any heat, first of all, there's very minimal heat. The temperature ranges between 40 to 70, but mostly it's 40s. If there is any chance of heat doing any damage, it's completely out of the question because you're so far away from the end plate. The spread of the heat is only a few millimeters. We are ready to insert the connecting cable to the wand. You have to align these dots, and then it will go quite easy. Now, what I would do after connecting is look at the final picture, make sure the needle has not moved, and the cannula and the wand, they're in the same position. So we'll take another fluoro. Looks like we are still the same, at the same spot, so in pretty good shape. Now, for starting, I want to show you, this is the dark marker here, and when we have wand out this far from the cannula, let's take a look where the tip is. You can see that how far out the tip is. As you see, this far out, so much of the tip is out. So even if you come this far, you're still in the safe zone because the active portion is this tip of the wand actually. And then there's insulation. So if you come this close, you may conduct electricity to this metallic cannula. So usually I stay at least close to that, this far. So in that way, there's no question that you're in the annulus. This is how far deep you'll get. And the distal end of the wand is going to, of course, touch the annulus. And during coagulation, you're going to pull it out slowly. So we set the power at 2. So what I do is pull it out to the starting point, just at this marker. You can gauge it from the fluoro picture that you don't want to be too far out. Otherwise, you'll be in touch with the cannula. So now I'll give a quick tap on the pedal and ask the patient if he feels any kind of jolt. So that's in ablation mode. And then I put my hand here, holding the needle, and that's how I stabilize the needle. You can use another hand and rest anywhere you want. Speed of insertion of the wand should be such that you don't delay. If the wand stays at one particular point, it can generate heat. Then what we do is step on the pedal, and you have to be coordinated. Step on the pedal and move your hand at the same time. And then next step is pulling the wand out, and that usually typically is 10 seconds. But the rate of pulling out the wand is at 5 millimeters every second. We change it to 2 o'clock. We started with 12 o'clock, now we change to 2 o'clock, and then we repeat the process.
Nucleoplasty disc decompression reduces the volume of the spongy nucleus within the herniated disc. As a result, pressure on the weakened shell of the disc is relieved. The shell typically returns to a more natural shape, and the source of the nerve root irritation is either minimized or eliminated in most cases. Using a minimally invasive catheter and standard imaging technology that helps the doctor visualize inside the patient's disc, an accurate 1 millimeter pathway is created for the radio wave transmitter to be placed directly into the nucleus of the disc. Radio wave signals pass through the transmitter from a tabletop generator several feet away, then through the tip of the transmitter and into the spongy nucleus of the herniated disc. The radio waves produce a low-temperature ionized gas that breaks up molecular bonds in the spongy tissue, thereby dissolving volume without burning or otherwise damaging surrounding tissues or organs.
So after completion of that procedure, what I do, I push the cannula a little further in, so make sure that there's no doubt it's in. And I instill an antibiotic solution. Usually it's 2 milligrams of ANSAF. I dilute that with mixture of contrast and a little bit of Marcaine. Just want to instill about quarter cc to half a cc. And then what you do is clean this and put a Band-Aid. See, the wound is very tiny. It's just a puncture wound. And you put a Band-Aid, and that's about it.